It's a slow week for college basketball, but it shouldn't be.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or watch. Reminder, you can catch every episode ad-free on Amazon Music. Happy Boxing Day to those of you that celebrate Boxing Day. It's good to be together. Special shout out to all the everydayers and all the members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and get $20 off your first purchase. For those of you watching, you recognize that it's a very different and frankly boring background behind me. I am at an Airbnb in Dallas, Texas with family for Christmas and coming to you there. So glad to still be able to be together even on this Christmas week. Coming up on the show today, here's what I want to talk about. It has been a slow Christmas week of college basketball. The NBA and the NFL are taking advantage of it. College basketball is not. I want to talk about what's going on there, what I think they could change, and I want to talk about, this is the day after Christmas, what gifts should we keep and what gifts should we be sending back in terms of college basketball teams, and that's where we're going. So let's get right into this slow week that college basketball has. Let me lay it out for you. On Tuesday, which was Christmas Eve, literally no games, zero Division I basketball games. On Wednesday, yesterday, there were 4 games in all of Division I, all out in Hawaii in the Diamond Head Classic. Loyola Chicago versus Murray State, Charleston, Charlotte, Oakland, Hawaii, and then Oregon State, Nebraska. Andy previewed all of those on yesterday's show. Behind the scenes, I'm recording this earlier in the day on Christmas Day because I got all this family stuff to do. So we're not even going to look at the results of those games. Apologies for that. If anything crazy happens, we'll get to it eventually on the show. So no games Tuesday, 4 games yesterday on Christmas Day, literally 0 games today, December 26th, and then tomorrow, Friday, just 2 Division I games, and neither of them are 2 Division I opponents. It's like Baylor against a non-D1 opponent. I don't even remember the other, but non-D1 versus D1 games. That's basically 4 straight days where all you have is 4 Division I games. That's not good. And here's the weird balance for me. Hear me say this. I recognize the difference in, these are still ultimately college students. Yes, very well paid, well compensated college students. But, there's I understand letting them have some moments with family and doing things like that. You want to get them home or whatever. But people want college basketball during this week. They're at home hanging out with their families. They want to watch games going on. And it feels like college basketball is just basically deferring to the NBA, which has owned Christmas Day for a while. Even the NFL, as I'm sitting here recording, the Chiefs and Steelers are playing right now. And we're going to have another game here in a little bit for the NFL, both on Netflix. And it's I don't know why college basketball is just giving up. And I don't think that's good. So this is to me, a massive opportunity that college basketball is missing. And we have that problem as a sport, right? College basketball, of taking advantage of what could be massive moments. For example, opening day, Andy and I have talked ad nauseum on the show here about college basketball's inability to hit the ground running. There were some better games this year, much better than we've had in the past, and namely Baylor and Gonzaga, although that was most people were in bed by the time that game tipped off. But, Thanksgiving, a massive opportunity. It's great because there are so many MTEs during Thanksgiving week. But this year, we had a big Thanksgiving game. But Christmas, it's nothing. Got to do more in college basketball on Christmas Day. The NBA realized this a while ago, and they leaned into it. Hey, we recognize that all that's on Christmas Day is Christmas movies, 24 hours straight of a Christmas story, right? Don't they do that on TBS and TNT? And so NBA was like, let's do it. Let's play games. Let's work to own Christmas Day. The NFL is finally realizing that. They're like, let's just not let the NBA have Christmas Day. Why don't we get in on that action? And so you might have seen the quote from Jerry Jones, the Cowboys owner, this week. He said, quote, Christmas Day is Christmas Day, and it won't wait around for what day it's on. We, the NFL, want to be there on Christmas Day. I would think the future is whatever day it's on, we're going to be there on Christmas. I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but basically he's saying we as the NFL need to take advantage of Christmas Day. And I don't care if it's not on a Sunday or a Thursday night. We need to have NFL games on Christmas. Why? Because people are doing what probably you and your family are doing. Sitting around, maybe you're doing a puzzle, and it's like, it'd be great if there was some sports on. Sure, maybe it's background noise, but for some of you, it's like, I would really, really like to escape my family and go watch a basketball game right now. Cool. Well, all you got right now is NBA games. 5 of them straight on Christmas Day yesterday, all on ABC, ESPN. And when you think about it, the NFL is one of the most wise, intentional entities that there is. If the NFL is saying, hey, you know what we should do? We should play a couple games on Christmas Day. And what entity do they have on TV on Christmas Day? 2 of their biggest brands, the Chiefs. If the NFL very intentionally is having the Chiefs play on Christmas Day, you know what that tells me? It would be a good thing for college basketball, because if the NFL is doing it, everyone else should get in line, because there's something there. There's some slice of the Christmas pie that college basketball could get in on. So I think not having games this week is a big time missed opportunity. And not just not having games, but not having marquee games is a missed opportunity for our sport. You with me on that? So what I want to do coming up here in just a second is provide some answers. What could this look like? How could college basketball get into the Christmas Day racket? We'll answer that in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. What I love about FanDuel, man, there's so many different ways for you to pick up a W. We're going to talk about several teams later on that are in good shape and a couple others that aren't. But I want to give you right now FanDuel's top 5 teams in terms of odds to make the Final Four. Leading the way right now is Auburn at +110, followed by Duke at +150, Tennessee to +210, Houston +230, and Gonzaga rounding out that top 5 at +270. Lots of other fun things like that, like Wooden Award or national champion odds, conference regular season champs. Man, go check it all out at FanDuel.com, where you have a chance to win $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. When I talk about college basketball getting in on the Christmas Day racket or even the Christmas week racket, for me, it's not that it's got to be like, hey, look, the NBA has a stranglehold on Christmas Day. We got to rip it from their cold, dead fingers. Or, oh, no, the NFL's getting in on Christmas Day. We can't let that happen. Because let's be honest, the entities that are the NFL and the NBA, college basketball is not going to overtake them. But you know what they could do? They could ride on their coattails, right? College basketball, just see what the NFL and the NBA is doing and like, let's get in on that action. It's like when anytime somebody comes out with some kind of new toy or some kind of new idea and it just like blows up and everybody loves it, what does everyone else try to do? They try to emulate it. And that's what I think college basketball should be doing. Again, it's not trying to snatch Christmas Day or Thanksgiving Day from the NFL and the NBA. It's just saying, hey, you've got this popular thing going on. Let's ride that wave right along with them. Rising tide raises all boats. So my question is, how could college basketball benefit from the massive brands of the NBA and the NFL on Christmas Day? Well, I think what college basketball got right this year was how they handled Thanksgiving Day. So I think we should take a cue from that. There was this one massive marquee game after the first NFL game. You know how the NFL has 3 Thanksgiving Day games? What college basketball did, and I don't know the level of intentionality of this, but I really think it was wildly intentional, is that after the first NFL game, college basketball had a marquee game utilizing at least one team from a similar market to one of the NFL teams. This year, the first NFL game on Thanksgiving was the Bears and the Lions on CBS, and that's critical too. So Bears and Lions on CBS. What college basketball game immediately followed that on CBS? Illinois against Arkansas. So you had the Bears, that Chicago market. What do you follow that up with? Illinois playing right after that. The biggest state school in Illinois, right? And so you hold on to that Illinois market that's already watching the game. If you're CBS, this is so smart and so intentional. And you market it like crazy during the NFL game. Like, hey, Bears fans, immediately coming up after this, Illinois facing Arkansas. And that's important too, because the other school, Arkansas, while it wasn't like a regional tie-in to the preceding NFL game, it's the Coach Cal tie-in. And everyone wants to see what's going on with Coach Cal all the time. So Illinois against Coach Cal, that makes sense on CBS. And they called it the Thanksgiving Hoops Showcase. Like, just lean into that moniker year after year after year. I really hope college basketball wisely makes this a thing on Thanksgiving Day. So then my suggestion is, let's do the same thing on Christmas. But the good news with Christmas is it's not just those NFL games. You can ride the NBA and the NFL coattails. So here's what I mean with the NFL. 2 games on Netflix on Christmas Day yesterday. You had the Chiefs and Steelers, which I said in real time, I'm recording this as that game is going on. And then in a little bit, we've got the Ravens at the Texans. So here's my suggestion. You got Kansas City. This is the Missouri side of Kansas City, but Lawrence, Kansas is like an hour west. I drive this all the time. I live like 2 hours south of Kansas City. I know what I'm talking about here. So there's a massive Jayhawks contingent in Kansas City that would also be Chiefs fans. So you know what you do? As soon as this Chiefs-Steelers game is over, Netflix, you get into the college basketball game and you have Kansas play somebody right after that. Or we got the Ravens at Texans game later. I say lean into both of that. Have a game somewhere in Houston, have Maryland come down, and have Maryland and Houston play a college basketball game after the Baltimore Ravens play the Houston Texans. And again, if you're Netflix, just market that like crazy. Hey, we got an NFL college basketball doubleheader. If you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan and a Jayhawks fan, boy, we got a day for you, right? If you are a Ravens and Terrapins fan, whoo, boy, look what's in store. Oh, you like Kelvin Sampson and the Cougars, and you also like the Texans? Buckle up. We got a double. I mean, it just makes sense. We're on the NBA side. 5 NBA games on Christmas Day. Spurs at Knicks, followed by Timberwolves at Mavs, followed by 76ers at Celtics, Lakers at Warriors, Nuggets at Suns. Literally all of it. Like, that's all ABC, ESPN all day long. That is their entire lineup. And it ends a little bit too late to come after that, because that Nuggets at Suns game, I think, tips at like 10:30 or something like that on the East Coast. Maybe it was even like 11:30 on the East Coast. But man, you've got 10 different markets there that you could find a way to utilize. So for example, that first game, Spurs at Knicks. Here, I think this would be even cooler than just a TV doubleheader. Where do the Knicks play their home games? Madison Square Garden. College basketball loves MSG. There's great games there all the time. The CBS Sports Classic was there literally last Saturday, right? So here's what I think. You got Spurs at Knicks in the Garden. Why don't you follow that up with St. John's playing someone in the Garden? Maybe even make it a Big East game. Have UConn at St. John's in the Garden following Spurs at Knicks. I mean, that would be crazy. Maybe even the NBA and NCAA could get together, or St. John's and the Knicks get together and find a way to make that a dual ticket. Like I just mentioned, the CBS Sports Classic last week. One ticket gets you admission to the first game, which was UCLA, North Carolina, and the second game, Ohio State and Kentucky. Could we do that? Is there some way to make that happen with the NBA, with the Knicks game and a St. John's? Like, how great would that be? And look, unlike what happened on Thanksgiving, where it was the NFL game on CBS followed by the basketball game on CBS, what if, since these basketball games are all on the flagship ABC and ESPN, what if they just had the St. John's game right after that be on ESPN2? Because literally all you have to say, you go split screen, and as that Spurs-Knicks game is ending, you say, hey, stay tuned. We're here on ESPN and ABC. We're going to Timberwolves at Mavericks after this. But if you switch right on over to ESPN2, you can catch St. John's hosting UConn right back here in Madison Square Garden. Boom. Easy as pie. And you could even really I know you've got those 5 NBA games. What if you followed each one of them with an intentional college basketball game that grabbed at least one of those media markets? You had the Mavs game. Maybe you have, I don't know, Baylor playing right after that, or some other Texas, like TCU right after that, which is closer to Dallas. 76ers at Celtics, some New England team, probably not Boston, but somebody up there that would be fun. Lakers at Warriors, man, all sorts of great California teams. Nuggets at Suns, maybe Arizona could play right. I mean, just so many opportunities that college basketball could get in on to help keep marketing ourselves better. Because I feel like there's so many missed opportunities, and it's wide open. It's staring you in the face. I love what we did with Thanksgiving. Let's do the same on Christmas. Make this work. Well, yesterday was Christmas Day. We got all sorts of presents. So my question is, which college basketball teams are we keeping, and which ones are we sending back? Funny enough, I've got 2 of each for you, and they started the preseason ranked numbers 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'll give you that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time. Man, going to college basketball games, especially in the holiday season, is just so special. We've been talking about Madison Square Garden in the last segment. Man, a couple years ago, I went to Madison Square Garden at Christmas time for the CBS Sports Classic. It was incredible. And while we were there, we took our kids to see the Rockettes. So that's what I love about Game Time, because they have opportunities not just for sports, but all sorts of live events where you can get tickets, best deals on some of the very best seats. What's cool right now is that Game Time this holiday season is focused on togetherness. That means when you bring the people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And it's the perfect gift. Maybe you need a quick last minute or belated Christmas gift, man. Game Time would be great. And coming up this Saturday in the Intuit Dome, we got Gonzaga and UCLA. This is a great matchup. Tickets as low as $52. The ticket I want, though, I found it just behind one of the baselines behind the basket. 4 seats together, section 117, row 1. Those tickets just $82. That was great. You should get in on that and take the guesswork out of buying tickets at Game Time. Download their app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Andy and I have been trying to do some fun Christmas segments this week. I loved the segment he did on yesterday's show, just putting together a Christmas lineup. Man, it was great stuff. Hope you checked that out. It was segment 3. If you didn't get to see it or listen to it, you should go back and do so. What I wanted to do today is, what always happens on December 26th? Everybody's trying to start returning gifts because it's the wrong size, or they don't like it, or it's the wrong color. And so I thought, what are the gifts I want to keep, and what are the ones I want to send back? So what I started looking at was, and you could do so many in each of these categories, but what are some college basketball teams that have been a bit of a surprise to me and that I want to keep? And which college basketball teams have been like, ooh, I want to send this gift back because they have not lived up to my expectations. And what's funny is I got 2 of each, and I went back and as I started preparing for this segment, I realized these 4 teams were ranked 9, 10, 11, and 12 in the preseason AP poll. Pretty funny synergy there. And let's get into it. The 2 gifts I want to keep, probably not a surprise in any way, are 2 SEC teams. And the teams I want to send back, well, they've got some similarities as well. We'll get there first. The first gift I'm keeping, the first team, is Auburn, man. What a pleasant and beautiful surprise Bruce Pearl's team has been. I got to be honest, though. I really wasn't buying it preseason. I thought they'd be fine, but I've been like, Auburn, you are insane. Like, I love this Tigers team. They were 11th preseason. I thought that was too high. Clearly, it was way too low. I know Tennessee is number 1 in the nation right now, and deservedly so. They're the team that deserves to be number 1 based on what's happened. But I still think Auburn is the best team in college basketball right now. I think on a neutral, Auburn beats Tennessee. I'm all in on this team. I'm so glad Johni Broome appears to be fine after that shoulder thing a week or two ago. Was even able to get right back in play last Saturday in their game. So that was really encouraging to see. But I mean, he is right now the front runner for National Player of the Year. If you name anybody else, I don't know that I could take you seriously. Like it's far and away because of what he does on both ends of the. I mean, it's just really, really impressive. But Auburn has it all: guard play, front court play, depth, length, speed, veterans, precocious rookies, all of this stuff in the front court. It's not just Broome. You've got Dylan Cardwell and Chaney Johnson to back him up and play alongside of him. Denver Jones, man, great defense that he brings. Chad Baker Mazzara, I love. He's kind of this X factor, but he's got an edge to him. I think it really helps bring some personality and identity. Tahad Pettiford, man, he has been dynamic for this team, rising to the occasion and massive. I mean, good night. Look back at what he did against Houston or at Duke in the ACC SEC Challenge or the Iowa State game. I mean, I love watching this kid play. And because even when JP Pegues, who brings veteran experience over from Furman, like either of those guys, I feel comfortable with running the show. Auburn is 11-1. Their only loss is at Duke. And they've racked up wins over Houston, Iowa State, Memphis, North Carolina, Ohio State, Purdue. They are like, what's crazy is the SEC is going to be a gauntlet, but even still, their non-conference schedule has been crazy. It's number 11th in the nation, even before they start that. I mean, Auburn's strength of schedule season long blows my mind. They're number 1 in the net. They're 6-1 in quad one. No other team has more than 4 wins, and even that is only 2 teams. I mean, they're blowing the doors off people in that regard. Number 1 in the net, number 1 at KenPom, number 1 at Torvik. Their offense is number 1 at KenPom. Their defense is number 10. It's wildly insane. And look, Auburn is not going to be perfect in the SEC, but at both KenPom and Torvik, they are favored in every game they play the rest of the way. I'm really excited to see how Auburn continues to progress. And then the other present I want to keep is those Tennessee Volunteers I was just mentioning a second ago, because I think the reason it's been such a pleasant surprise is I thought Tennessee was going to be good, but would take a real big step back because they didn't have Dalton Connect, who was just otherworldly good last year. I was hopeful that Chaz Lanier would be able to do some of that, but not be able to do everything Dalton Connect did. But when you have a Darlin Stone-Dubar coming in and Zakai Ziegler, another year removed from that injury, that he would be back and better. But was curious to see, like, okay, you lose Jonas Adu. How do other guys step up in the front court, those kind of things? And man, good night, has Rick Barnes' team been so impressive. And yes, Chaz Lanier is not the same player that Dalton Connect is. But what Tennessee is doing this year is operating more, I think, efficiently offensively, because it's not just this one dude we can hone in on. They can rely on so many guys to provide offense while still being so insanely high level defense, where they're number 2 at defensive efficiency at KenPom, while still being 14th nationally in offensive efficiency. Love what the Tennessee Volunteers are doing. Okay, the 2 teams I want to send back: Arizona and North Carolina. You know, I mentioned thinking Auburn was too high at 11. Well, the team right above them in the preseason poll, Arizona, was number 10. And turns out they were way too high. This team now is not even in others receiving votes in the AP top 25. For Arizona, got a bunch of shooting woes. They are 30.7% from 3. That's 274th in the nation. And when you don't have the inside presence of Umar Ballo anymore, who's now at Indiana, to kind of offset that, where you can rely on more 2s, it's a big struggle. I think ultimately for me, when I look at Arizona, that they are talented. There's talent on this roster, but the pieces they lost are more talented than what they brought in. The incoming talent is not high enough level to replace what's gone out. And then you've still got, like the Caleb Love experience, who is struggling this year, which At times he's struggling. At times he's he's doing what he does. That's the Caleb Love roller coaster. He's the reigning Pac-12 player of the year. What conference? I've never heard of the Pac-12. What is that? I'm just joking. But man, Arizona right now is 6-5. They were 3-4 at one point this season. They were 4-5 at another point. Their losses, nothing ugly. Wisconsin, Duke, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and UCLA. Those are all very respectable losses, all quad one. But the problem is they don't have any other quad one wins to offset it. Literally right now, Arizona is 0-5 in quad one. The computers still like them, though, the predictive metrics. They're 24th at KenPom, 26th in the net, 14th at Torvik with a 6-5 record. And so what Arizona is going to have to do is rely on, can we get things figured out in Big 12 play? Because there's going to be plenty of opportunities to get those quad one wins. The other problem is that Arizona doesn't have any quad two games that they've played so far. Literally all their games are quad one, quad three, or quad four. They're undefeated in quad 3 and 4, and that's what they're going to have to continue to do. Cannot take losses in quad 3 or 4 to offset these 5 losses in non-con play. Now, here's what's funny. The other team that I want to send back is so similar in a multitude of ways, not just, they were 9th preseason AP poll and have also fallen off. They're still in the others receiving votes, but they've got, I'll just say it's North Carolina, right? And it's funny because of the Caleb Love, RJ Davis tie-in. RJ Davis is struggling similar to Caleb Love. This is a team that also has 5 losses, all of which are quad one. So there's so many interesting similarities between Arizona and North Carolina right now. Arizona 6-5, North Carolina 7-5. And it's odd with North Carolina's schedule because 2 of their wins, their 2 best wins, are Dayton and UCLA, both of which are games they had to come back in a big way to win. And had they not done so, instead of being 7-5 right now, they would be 5-7, which is a very realistic possibility. But on the flip side of that, Carolina also had big opportunities to beat Kansas at Kansas. They were winning that game in the final couple minutes, had a wide open layup to essentially beat Michigan State, ended up losing that game in overtime. Almost came back last Tuesday and beat Florida in the Jumpman Invitational. Had they won 2 or all 3 of those games, they could be 9-3 or 10-2 right now. So North Carolina has this weird and wild variance where they could be easily 5-7, maybe even 4-8, because they almost lost to Georgia Tech at home as well. But they could almost also be 10-2. The razor's edge is so close for this Tar Heels team. And yes, they've played a wildly difficult schedule. Their 5 losses are to the teams that are ranked right now 2, 5, 6, 7, and 18 in the current AP poll. It's crazy. And so similar to Arizona, all of their losses are quad one losses. Differently than Arizona, North Carolina does have 2 quad one wins. That's helpful. But similar to Arizona, they haven't played any quad 2 games yet. Everything else is quad 3 and 4. So these Tar Heels do have a lot of big warts, most of which we saw coming this offseason. Critically, their lack of inside presence, missing out on everyone in the portal. The things that we didn't see, they're getting off to terribly slow starts, have been down double digits in all but one game they've played against high majors. That was Georgia Tech was the only game they didn't. And they were down by 8 in the first half of that game. They've got some turnover issues right now where they are really struggling to hang on to the ball. Unfortunately for them, a lot of that is Elliot Cadeau, their point guard, who's not doing that. We already mentioned RJ Davis is struggling. The Tar Heels expected Belmont transfer Cade Tyson to come in and just be a dude. He is not. And so, he's just not, he's been a non-factor ultimately. And Carolina, although their schedule and results look a little bit better than Arizona right now, the predictive metrics have them ranked lower, 34th in the net, 28th at KenPom, and 33rd at Torvik. So those are my 4 teams that I am wanting to keep those gifts, and 2 others I'm wanting to send back. I'd love to hear from you. What teams, what gifts from Christmas do you want to keep, and which ones do you want to send back? All right, guys, that's it for today's show. Great to be together. Hope you had a great Christmas. It's a joy to get to talk. I'll be right back with you tomorrow, just me getting you ready for the weekend. I'm also going to bring you my non-conference first-team All-Americans and my non-conference all-freshman team so far. And then on Monday, Andy and I will be back together, recapping the weekend and having some other conversations as well. If you haven't subscribed to Locked On College Basketball on video and audio, make sure you do that so you don't miss a second of the show. And if you haven't joined the Locked On College Basketball Discord, man, that's a great way to join other college basketball fans to talk about our sport all the time. The link for that is in the show notes. Absolutely free to join. As always, apologies to the lawyer family. Let's go Wildcats, and until tomorrow, peace.